We are back. The Silver and Blue Huddle. Expert Corner, Richblkman coming in hot, up fresh off a victory from the New Jersey Giants. I'm loving it. We got back to winning, got back in the winning column. It wasn't ugly. I mean, it wasn't pretty, but a win is a win. That's all I can really say. A win is a win. Short week. Cowboys coming in after playing fresh off Sunday, coming in on the short week, flying on the road to New Jersey, where supposedly the New York Giants play. But I take it. A win is a win. Esper, I don't know about you. It wasn't pretty. It was an ugly win, but I know you'll take the win too, right?
I mean, a win is a win in the NFL because obviously those are professional athletes on the other side of the football. And the Giants did not play that bad. I mean, Daniel Jones still continues. It still confuses me that teams look at quarterbacks like a Dak Prescott, a Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and teams go, nah, we'd rather pay Daniel Jones all this money because he ended up costing them the game in the end. But, the Giants, I mean, they got a pretty good offense, but I wasn't impressed. I was not impressed with the Cowboys on either side of the football. Obviously, the defense played a lot better this week, forcing the New Jersey Giants to take a bunch of field goals versus scoring touchdowns. But you got to find ways if you're the Cowboys offense to put the ball in the end zone 4, 5, 6 times against the Giants. I mean, you can't. I mean, Dak Prescott 22 of 27, 221, pedestrian, 2 touchdowns. I mean, the rushing attack got you 80 yards. Nothing when you look at this game as a Cowboy fan stood out, right? Nothing stood out. Yes. Did the Cowboys play better in the run game? Obviously, they got called soft the entire week leading up to this game. And as a grown man, when other grown men get on TV and call you soft like Charmin, you tend to react to that a certain way. And the Cowboys stepped up and took care of the run game against the Giants. But still, you gave up 15 points and only put up 20. Listen, if there is a Cowboy fan out there watching the Silver and Blue Huddle, if you came off of this Giants game, you're like, oh, yes, we're back. Please reach out to me so I can find out what pharmaceuticals they got you on, because I need to know, because this game scared me, Rich, going into the rest of this season.
It did as well. I mean, it scared me as well. Watching the game kind of made me realize that, hey, the Cowboys might not be as good as you think, Rich. The Cowboys might only win another 4 to 5 games in the season, Rich. So I had to come to terms that, hey, the Cowboys might not be so great. I never continue to say that. This is probably going to be the only time that I would sit up here and say that the Cowboys are probably going to be a bad team. You would never see me. I don't care how many games we lose going out, but this is the one and only time that I would sit up here and say, hey, my Cowboys look terrible this past week against the Giants, and we are in big trouble. We are in big trouble, and we might not be as successful as I thought they was before the beginning of the season. We just might be an 8-8 team, a 500 team, and we would be lucky to even get that. But hey, this is our future if we don't tighten up. If we don't get better players and maybe even better coaching and stuff like that. I don't see them bringing back Mike McCarthy, unfortunately. Like maybe
I don't see them bringing back any of this staff, right? Now, obviously, we love Al Harris. I love him as the defensive back coach. He's done an amazing job with so many different players, right? You take away Anthony Brown, you plug in Deron Bland. Bland gets hurt. They bring in Carson. Carson gets hurt. Now they got Booth playing. Booth played horrible. They sit Booth down in the second half. They bring another young guy in who played pretty well in that second half. But Rich, you remember when we first started this podcast this year, we talked about Mike McCarthy was bringing this dynamic defense. He was going to have all these blitz packages, and he's going to get Micah involved and DeMarcus Lawrence. 1 sack against Daniel Jones? One sack? Like, we can't, at no point we can get after the quarterback. Like, it's just every piece of this game, and I'm trying to keep myself calm this week because I'm really pissed off at the Dallas Cowboys. You had an opportunity. You played the second half versus Baltimore. You played really well in the third and fourth quarter. You almost came back. You had a chance to win that game. Defense couldn't get a stop. You had a short week turnaround. This was the time for you to stand up as Cowboy Nation and say, you know what? We're going to go out here and make a statement versus an inferior team. Regardless how we feel about the Giants, they got some nice pieces, but they are an inferior team. They are one of the bottom teams in the NFL. And you were in a battle where Daniel Jones had a chance to drive his team down the field and beat you. And you can't feel good about that. This is a team that we have beaten down for so long. I mean, how many games has it been since the Giants won versus the Cowboys? I think Phil Simms and Eli Manning were on that team. Like, this is embarrassing to only win by 5 points against the team we're supposed to dominate. We talked about this. I need a 30, 40-point win versus this Giants team, and we didn't get it. And now you got a tough Pittsburgh team coming up. And then you got a tough Lions team. And guess who's coming after the bye week? It's that big bad wolf we always talk about. It's the 49ers. And they're going to be healthy after the bye week. And what are you going to do? Because you come out and play like this versus the Lions and the 49ers. Right. Oh, Lord. We might be looking at draft picks on this show, on that podcast.
Right. And normally when the Cowboys and Giants match up, normally the running joke is you ask a Giants fan who's their daddy, and you normally say Dak Prescott. But Dak Prescott did not carve up the Giants like he normally does. Like, it's an easy 300, 350 passing game for Dak Prescott and about 4 or 5 TDs. Like, that's just the history of the Cowboys and the Giants and Dak Prescott. The Giants have not beat Dak Prescott, I think, since he came into the league at all. Like, they're defeated against Dak Prescott. And even myself, I put a little something on Dak Prescott to do a certain passing yards, and he didn't even reach that. He was only going. He only needed to reach 250. He only reached 221, and only had 2 touchdowns against the Eagles, against the Giants. You pretty much could bet that Dak Prescott is going to have 3 to 4 TDs, passing TDs, and he kind of struggled with this Giants defense, who only really have Kevin Thibodeau or whatever. Like, they don't really have like a lot of good pass rushers. I mean, they decent on defensive side, but it's not a defense that the Cowboys are used to struggling with at all, especially offensively.
Yeah, and obviously the Giants defense is the best part of their team. They do have a really good front four. Yeah. They get after the quarterback really well. But I think the bigger problem here, Rich, is who is the other guy on this offense, right? I look up, I see CeeDee Lamb catching 7 passes. I see Jake Ferguson catching 7 passes. Then you look at the other guys. Tolbert had 3 catches for 21 for 24. Brandon Cooks, 1 catch, 16 yards. Can somebody put an Amber Alert out for Brandon Cooks? He's on milk cartons in the city of Dallas. Where is this guy? This was supposed to be the guy on the opposite side of CeeDee Lamb that was supposed to take the pressure off of CeeDee. And if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm like, look, I'm just going to take away 88 and 87. Beat me with the other guys that you got. You can't. You got Rico Dowdle with 1 catch, Lupke with 2 catches, Zeke with 1 catch. And then the other thing we talked in the offseason, you got no running back because you had 4 running backs, so you have none, right? You have no help on the defensive line. If something were to happen and the injury happened on the defensive line, we're out of luck. Well, guess what? That just happened. So all the things that we have talked about in the offseason that Jerry Jones just did not address, and then he comes out and he waves the Cowboy flag because he signed 2 guys to multi-year deals, multi-million-dollar year deals at the last minute, like the very last second before the shot clock goes off. He throws a prayer up and somehow makes 2 baskets, but that hurt us in the long run in the offseason. So a lot of like anxious moments are going to happen these next couple weeks before we get to the bye week with the injuries on the defense, with the way this offense is playing. They gotta figure something out. Where is Dalvin Cook? You talked about Dak Prescott just not looking like the Dak Prescott we're used to seeing. Now, part of that is Jake Ferguson was hurt. CeeDee Lamb missed all of camp. They talked about it on the broadcast. Maybe those 2 guys are not on the same page. They've played long enough together, but I get it. They've now played 4 games. Okay, you've played a training camp's worth, right? Practices, games. You're in that game shape. I need to see them flip that switch. Not just him, but Cooks, Tolbert, Schoonmaker, the whole offense got to turn that switch now because especially now with your defense hurt, your defense probably not going to hold many opponents to 15 points without
Right.
Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence, without Deron Bland. Deron probably still a couple weeks away. He might not. I could see Deron Bland sitting out until the 49er game being his first game back, being gone through the bye week. They've talked about maybe the Lions game. Outside chance Pittsburgh was an opportunity, but I think that's long gone. But now you're without Micah with the high ankle sprain probably for 4 weeks. DeMarcus Lawrence with the foot sprain, he's probably out for 2 to 4 weeks. So you're looking at not having your two premier pass rushers until maybe the 49er game or the game after that. And so there's going to be a lot of anxious moments when you play the Steelers and the Lions. Can this offense put up 30, 40 points? Because that's what it's going to take. You're going to have to score in bunches to keep this team in the game. And I'm not seeing that from the Cowboy offense. I definitely didn't see it this past Thursday versus the Giants, a team I thought, like you talk about, Dak should have had 350, 400. They should have been looking in the end of the third, fourth quarter of, they got to bring a backup quarterback in because Dak's done everything he need to do. You're up 30 points.
Right. We definitely should have seen Cooper Rush in this Giants game. And
Yeah,
to answer your
absolutely.
question, I think maybe the third wide receiver could be Turpin because he was able to maybe get some space in between some of those zones. And I think he got a touchdown and he made some critical catches. So if he can get out there and stretch out the field a little bit, like I think he may be that third wide receiver because Brandon Cooks definitely is MIA. And some of the passes that Dak Prescott is throwing to Cooks is not really on the market. He's like dropping them or he just like out of position to make the catch. But if Turpin can get in there and just run like a streak or run a post in the middle of the defense, he might be the answer because they're not really guarding him. Like he's been open the whole time. So he might be the answer to the third wide receiver, but definitely got some issues.
We're 4 games in. He has 9 catches for the year.
Right.
That's not a number 2 wide receiver.
Not a number 2, but number 3 at least. Like we need some help.
I need somebody to step up.
Yeah.
And you look at this run game, like we could dissect the run game for a whole hour. I mean, it's so bad they're lining CeeDee Lamb up in the backfield and handing the ball to him. That's how bad this run game is. They're trying to create something. They're running jet sweeps with Brandon Cooks, with CeeDee Lamb, putting CeeDee in the backfield. There's just way too many issues. And then you talk about, and we could talk about all the penalties in this game, which I thought there were some horrible penalties on both sides of the football that I thought these refs just got flag happy and kind of ruined the Thursday night game. It was kind of a snore fest with the amount of yellow on the field. But your offensive line still is not meshed either. And of course, that's a product of you got 2 rookie guys on this line and 2 key positions, left tackle and center, 2 of the most important positions on offensive line. And both of these rookies are starting to get into their own. I feel confident with Guyton and BB. I'm perfectly understand that this is going to take some time to get those guys going. But you don't have that workhorse in the backfield. And then the most frustrating thing for me is, we talked in offseason about Derrick Henry wanted to come to Dallas. He wanted to be a Cowboy. You couldn't pay him. You didn't want to pay him. You didn't want to pay him. All this nonsense we heard in the offseason, how he's not the same Derrick Henry I heard. Well, he looked pretty good yesterday.
Right.
I mean, he had almost 200 yards rushing. I don't understand. He ran all over us when he was in Dallas. Yep. Like, this is the problem I'm talking about. You had so many free agent running backs in this offseason that you could have gone out and got. Saquon Barkley is on a new team. Josh Jacobs is on a new team. Aaron Jones on a new team. Derrick Henry on a new team. Joe Mixon on a new team. All these running backs, and we go get Zeke, and then we don't even play Zeke.
Right.
That's the frustrating thing for me. It's like Zeke standing on the sideline. He looks dejected. He looks like the little kid that his mom told him he can't go outside and play football no more. And then when he comes in the game, he rushes for 6-7 yards a carry. Then they take him right back out and put Rico Dowdle back in. So I'm just so frustrated as a Cowboy fan because for this to be the year Mike McCarthy hangs his hat on and says, okay, we got to make a statement because my job is on the line, doesn't really look like there's a sense of urgency in that building. And it could just be me watching the game. I may have a different lenses as a Cowboy fan, but it looks to me like Mike McCarthy has just given the fact up that he's losing his job after this season. I'm going to make my money. Let's try and win some football games and see what we can do, because they do not look impressive in any form of football. Not offense, not defense, not special teams. There isn't one position group that I look at and go, we got a good group right there. Linebackers? No. Now, do we have some pieces, Rich? Yes.
Yeah.
Trayvon Diggs is still Trayvon Diggs. He's that dude. Overshown, that rookie is going to be nice. Yes, I love him. Dak Prescott is still a good quarterback. CeeDee Lamb is a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. The problem is you can't win football games with 4 or 5 guys on your roster. Not in the NFL. You might be able to do that in college. You definitely can do that in high school, but not in the pros. You got to have some dogs in every single position.
Right. And it's turning out to where our best weapon is actually our kicker, Mr. Brandon Aubrey.
Oh,
Like, I
the
mean, he
best
definitely
kicker.
missed the last field goal, but however, he's been our best weapon this entire year. And I know if we go back to some of the Cowboys in prior seasons, when we had maybe like Tony Romo and like Greg the Leg, like, man, some of our best players on the field hasn't been quarterback, running back, it's been the kicker. Like Greg the Leg was a good kicker, Greg Zerline or whatever, when he
Yep.
went
Dan
on the little
Bailey.
street. Grammatica, like I mean, we
Yep.
like when are we going to invest in some of these other positions? I mean, Derrick Henry definitely has been running crazy the last 2 weeks, and we all knew that. And every running back that you actually named was Cowboy killers, like Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, Dalvin. We got Dalvin Cook, but the dude that went to the Packers, Aaron Jones, like. And the Cowboys couldn't afford none of them, supposedly. Like, we couldn't get no bargain running back at all. We didn't even go after Austin Eckler. We didn't even go after J.K. Dobbins. I mean, we went after
But
none of
they
those guys.
could, but they could have afforded them.
Right.
The problem is that they stood outside the grocery store and they see the eggs that they want. They know they want them. Those are my eggs. Those are mine. But Jerry Jones stood out there like, nah, that's not the right price. And the price kept going up. And Jerry Jones says, nah, I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold out. And then the store came out and was like, look, man, the store's closing in 5 minutes. And Jerry Jones like, well, I got to pay the price now. If he would have paid Dak Prescott at the beginning of training camp, he would have saved millions of dollars. Millions. CeeDee Lamb, millions. They would have restructured all of that money, had all this cap space. Look at the cap space Cowboys got now. That could have been done at the beginning of training camp. And they could have gone, it could have been done at the end of last year. And he could have had all that money to spend instead of bringing one free agent in. He could have gone and got him a running back. He could have gone and got him a wide receiver. Like, this is look at what the Vikings are doing. The Vikings gave Justin Jefferson a true number 2 wide receiver. Those 2 guys are tearing it up in Minnesota with a quarterback that's not even a third as good as Dak Prescott.
Right.
That's my biggest problem is we see the blueprint in other cities with other NFL teams, and we just can't do it. All we can do as Cowboy fans is keep saying it's our year. Well, guess what, Cowboy Nation? I hate to tell y'all, it's not our year this year.
Yeah. We're
Not
definitely
with this
not looking
roster.
good. Not, I mean, looking at that Giants game, normally we blow out the Giants. Offense was bad, defense is bad, and we lost some key players on defense. So, and we got the Lions and Steelers, and oh my, like, come on. Our schedule's getting tough. Obviously, the back end of the schedule is probably a little bit more easier, but we're going to take some few L's if we're going to continue to play like we did against the Giants. Offense got to get it together. That Prescott and CeeDee Lamb got to get on the same page. They got to ball out. They got to get to the point where they have to carry the team. Like, we can no longer go downfield and get 3. Like, that Prescott, you getting paid $60 million, $240. I know people don't like to tie your performance back to your money, but I'm going to sit up and do it every single week. 3 and outs on the first series, man, like not being able to get 7, barely getting into field goal range. You got Aubrey out there kicking 60 yarders because you can't even get over midfield. Like, that's not what I expect from a top tier quarterback. I mean, come on. Your first
I think
series,
part
man.
of that is the guys around him, right? We didn't protect Dak Prescott. I feel like he's running for his life a lot more this year than we saw last year. You knew that was going to happen with these young guys. You know what controls a pass rush? A run game.
Right.
When teams are afraid that you're going to run the football, they can't pin their ears back and come after your quarterback. They have to be They have to be worried about your run game. And right now, no team is worried about the Cowboys running the ball 30 times in a game, averaging 4 or 5 yards a carry. They're just not worried about it. Right? They're going to allow Rico Dowdle to have his 40 yards, Zeke have 30, and they're just going to say, you know what? We're going to shut everything else down because we're not afraid of that. And now we're going to come get after your quarterback, which is what I expected this Dallas defense to do. I expected this Cowboy defense to be in that double A gap. We're bringing the safety. We're bringing the corner. We're backing those guys out. We're bringing two safeties. I'm waiting to see this, like this creative defense that everybody told me Mike Zimmer was bringing. Meanwhile, I'm turning the TV on and I'm watching the Washington Commanders with our old defensive coordinator with those creative blitzes, getting after teams, making teams struggle. And I'm waiting for that to be what happens in Dallas. Now, obviously, it takes some time to implement your defense. I get it, right? You've had one training camp, you've had 4 games. Again, I'm going to say it again. At some point, this Cowboy team has to flip a switch somewhere, and they either got to say, you know what, we're going to go out here and be the Cowboy team we have the talent with, or B, we don't have the guys in the building, go find somebody. Right. And I haven't heard anything this week about, hey, we brought this guy and we brought this. I don't know. And now there's reports that they're going to cut Dalvin Cook. Like the guy didn't even get a chance.
Right.
Like I just don't get it, man. Super frustrated. But as you know on this podcast, we're gonna bleed silver and blue to the end. And so we got a tough game coming up this week versus a Steelers team who's, I mean, they're not the best, but I mean, that defense is gonna get after Dak Prescott too.
Right. And they coming off a W as well. No, they're coming off a L, I'm sorry. Facing the Colts. I mean, if Joe Flacco can dot up the Steelers defense, I don't understand why Dak Prescott can't. It should be an easy day for Dak Prescott versus Steelers.
Correct.
Like it really should be. And I'm expecting big things, Dak Prescott. I'm expecting for you to like rebound off your Giants performance and go out there and dominate the Steelers, man. Like 3-4 TDs, like 300, 400-yard passing, and we should win easy. Your first drive should be a touchdown. If Joe Flacco can go out there and make a drive and get the quotes into the end zone, I don't understand why you can't.
I agree.
The Colts got what? Michael Pittman, and they got Josh Downs, and they have a pretty good running back.
Listen, there's nobody that we look at the Colts and say, hey, they got a wide receiver like CeeDee Lamb. They don't. They got a tight end like Jake Ferguson. They don't. They got a quarterback like Dak Prescott. They don't. That's the thing, though. When you look apples to apples, none of these teams don't have the same talent level when we look at the Cowboys. And that's not me being a Cowboy guy. That's the truth. Dak Prescott is an MVP type quarterback. CeeDee Lamb was the top 1-2 wide receiver in the NFL. Jake Ferguson was lighting it up last year. The Colts don't have that. What the Colts got is they protect the quarterback really well with their offensive line. They run the football with Jonathan Taylor, and Joe Flacco came in and he threw to everybody. He didn't just pick one guy. He was spreading the ball around. Those wide receivers were getting open. That's what we don't have in Dallas. Guys that are going to get open. Brandon Cooks is covered like a blanket. Right now, he's not open. And he's not been open the whole year. And so Dak is throwing in these small, tight windows, and you can't do that in the NFL. Teams are too good. Players are too good in the NFL on defense. That windows become really, really small, and they shrink as the game goes on when teams understand your scheme. And this Cowboys offense is not. Listen, I don't want to see another screen. I don't want to see another reverse. I want to see wide receivers not running curl routes on 3rd and 6 like we do every single 3rd and 6 because teams are ready for it. Where is the creativity on both sides of the football?
Right. And I think that's a job for Mike McCarthy to be more creative because we can definitely see the curls and the hitches. And I thought we got rid of those type of routes when we got rid of Kellen Moore. Like we didn't see a lot of that last year once Kellen Moore was gone.
Right.
We saw people going downfield a little bit longer, not doing the little curls, not doing the little slants. So that's on Mike McCarthy, 100%. And unfortunately, he did go back to that these last couple of games, just running those type of routes. And we just can't have that because teams are definitely sitting on it. The Dallas Cowboys are not a team that people are afraid of that's going to go deep, that's going to throw the ball deep and over the top of your head. They're just going to sit on routes. They're going to sit on anything 7 and under because that's all the Cowboys throw. Like when the last time you seen the deep bomb deep to like either Brandon Cooks or CD like or even a Turpin? Like you just don't see it. And I know there was a discussion about hey we should go ahead and ban the cover two man over the top. There was some news on ESPN about that they want to get rid of the defense that has cover two over the top.
Has two safeties over the top,
Yeah,
which is
two
just stupid.
safeties.
That's football 101, man.
Right,
That's just Mel Kiper being Mel Kiper. I
right.
get it. But the good thing is when you look at this NFC East and you look at it, there's no team in the NFC East that I look at and go, oh man, that team's gonna run away with the division.
Right.
The Eagles did not look good on Sunday. Now,
Nope.
obviously, a lot of their guys were hurt, but Jalen Hurts, the turnover machine that he is, it did not look good. And there's a narrative we could talk about any day of the week because when Dak Prescott was turning the ball over, oh, he's a horrible quarterback, right? Jalen Hurts turns the ball over in multiple occasions on multiple games, and he's just trying really hard. Like there's just certain things that gets because he got that star. The Giants are still the Giants. The only team really in the NFC East I look at that I'm afraid of right now is the Commanders. They got a confidence right now in Washington we have not seen in a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are going to be some fun games when we get to go see Washington twice this year. Now, obviously, Dan Quinn knows this Dallas Cowboy team really, really well. So there's going to be some animosity for him to come in there and try and get him a big W versus the Cowboys. But at this point here, Rich, what do you want to see from the Cowboys going forward? I just need to see consistency on both sides. Run the football, stop the run, and you got to stop kicking field goals. I love Brandon Aubrey. Don't get me wrong, but I'd rather see him kicking extra points instead of those field goals.
Agree. I mean, 100%. I think I've been crying this since the beginning of the season. The offense has to step up. Dak Prescott got to step up. He got to be able to get drives and go down the field and score and not have drives stall out in the red zone. Like, come on, man, you on the 20. Like, you got to be able to make that read to get us into the end zone. Like, field goals are not going to win us games. Like, and we're going
Yeah.
against some of these top teams in the next couple of weeks, and those teams get 7 points pretty much every time they get the ball. Like, they don't really get three until like what the end of the half or like something crazy. Or we got to get 7 points. That Prescott has to put in his mind that we need seven and not threes. Threes are good, but sevens are better. So that's what we need. I need him to make
Yeah.
those reads and get the ball down the field and be able to sustain long drives. Like I can't remember a time when the Cowboys actually had a long drive sustaining that equal points. Like I don't know when that happened, but against this week against the Steelers, man, I want us to be able to actually contain Justin Fields. I watched some of the game last week. I mean, yesterday with him and versus the Colts. He's still the kind of the same Chicago Bears Justin Fields, where he don't really make reads, but he will
Right.
take off. And we
Oh,
have to maybe,
absolutely.
yeah, we had to spot somebody on Justin Fields because I don't think he is able to like make reads like that. Not that he can't, he just don't. And if we cover the number one wide receiver and he's bots and the number two's bots, he ain't gonna continue to make reads. He's gonna try to take off. They
Yeah.
got back in the game yesterday because he took off and ran the ball. Justin Fields is still prone to turnovers. He's still prone to interceptions, and I saw that a lot yesterday. So if we get after him, then we can beat the Steelers with ease because
Yeah.
I'm not
I
afraid of
think
Justin Fields.
they've got the same mindset too on that side of the football against the Cowboys. It's contain Dak Prescott, you know, control the run game, which the Steelers team does really, really well. They stop the run really well. But the other thing the Steelers team does, they get after the quarterback. And so that's how they create their pressure. They make quarterbacks make bad decisions. You saw Richardson go down yesterday versus the Steelers. Now, a lot of that is his own fault because he don't slide. And I don't even know if he knows how to slide because some of those slides he had yesterday was just horrible. But again, Justin Fields he's Lamar Jackson to me without the reads, right? Lamar has at least gotten a lot better of him standing in the pocket when he needs to. He'll check it down, he'll make reads, and he takes off when he needs to. Plus, they design run for Lamar. They're starting to do some of that with Justin Fields, where they're going to start creating run lanes for him. And so, this Cowboy team has not done really, really well versus mobile quarterbacks. And so that's going to be a big problem. Just like you said, we got to learn how to spy a quarterback. There's a lot of NFL quarterbacks now that you worry about taking off. When Justin Fields first got in the league, he would take off way before he would ever look at throwing the football. That
Right.
was his MO. He's calmed that down quite a bit now in Pittsburgh. He likes to throw the football, but again, like you said, if that first or second read is not there, sometimes that first read is not there. He's yanking that ball down and he's gone.
Right.
And he is dynamic when he's running the football. He made some people look really bad yesterday. Now, he had some horrible plays too, where he's trying to run around, make a play, and that you just can't do some of those things in the NFL. So we got to get after Justin Fields. But the other side of the ball, Rich, we got to find some identity on this offense.
Yes.
If we're not going to be a running team, then you have to make teams go stupid against your pass offense. They don't know where you're lined up, where the routes are going. There's got to be some crazy combinations. You got to protect Dak Prescott a little bit extra to try and get those balls down the field. And just like you said, when you get into that red zone, when you got $60 million and a $30+ million wide receiver, that's almost $100 million on the field and two players. You got to find a way to put that ball in the end zone.
Right.
That's what I'm looking for against the Cowboys. Now, if they're going to keep winning ugly games, I'm perfectly fine with 20-15s versus people like the Steelers. But it's got to be where you dominate the team in the trenches if it's going to be 20-15, and that's not the Cowboys. So why not light it up? Why not open it up and take some shots? Like you said, Rich, where is the deep ball, right? Where is Turpin at with all that speed? Just take off and let's throw you a couple. Dak did that with Tolbert against the Giants a couple times, but I don't know if Tolbert is that guy to take off deep and get that separation. I don't see that. You know, CD is really, really good about finding the open spot, working his body a certain way to get in that open space for Dak Prescott to throw it. And then you got a guy like Turpin, you got a guy like Brandon Cooks who have phenomenal speed. Let's take some shots and make teams worry about backing up so he can start dumping it off to Rico coming out the backfield and Jake Ferguson and CD Lamb coming across the middle. Again, I need to see some dynamic play on both sides of the football. We got to get after the quarterback on Sunday. It's a Sunday night game. Everybody's going to be watching. Got to get after the quarterback, got to hold the run, and then you got to do something on offense that makes teams scared of this offense. And it can't just be CD and Jake Ferguson. It's got to be the others. When are the others going to step up?
Right. And offensively, please, for the love of God, please block TJ Watt. I don't know if that's Terrence Steele job or if it's going to be Guyan job, but please, double, chip, do not forget about TJ Watt. I do not want to see him get a career in sacks, okay? So I think that's Terrence Steele job, right? And even with Terrence Steele, he has to get better as well with his blocking because he be letting people off the edge like way too many times. So I don't know if those guys watch tape or not, but please watch tape of your defender. Learn his moves. I mean, when I played football, we did. Like, we scouted a little bit. Like, are you guys not watching tape or something in Dallas? Like, what's going on? Y'all get beat by
I don't know if Terrence still got that in him. That's the problem.
Like, just please block TJ Watt. Like, I don't want to hear, oh, another sack by TJ. Oh, TJ got a career in sacks tonight against the Dallas Cowboys. Like, do not let this man make history against the Dallas Cowboys on a Sunday night football game because if we lose, I ain't going to be able to watch TV on Monday. Like, you're not gonna be able to watch
stay off social media. Yeah, I mean, it's brutal when the Cowboys lose.
I got to get ghost for a full week when the Cowboys lose, especially when we lose badly. Like that's no fun. So I can take an L from the Cowboys. Just don't let it be another embarrassing L when we face another good team. And I think the Steelers are kind of average. Are they good? Are they the Lions or the 49ers? No, but
no.
We should beat them. We should.
But they're not the Giants. That's the thing, though. This is a better team than the New York Giants. It's a better team than the Cleveland Browns. And you are having to face them in a primetime game when everybody's going to be watching. And you are going to be missing two of your best players on the defense.
Right.
It's going to be
fun.
That
scare me. Cowboys playing in prime time because they always find a way to get embarrassed in prime time. So I hope that's not the case. But if Joe Flacco can do it, why not Dak?
Yeah.
Why not Dak?
No, I agree. Cowboys win 28-14.
I like it. I'm going to go with, I think Dak Prescott carves up the Steelers defense a little bit. I'm going to go overzealous. I'm going to say 35-20. 35-20, the Cowboys win. I think finally they step up and they go crazy offensively because I saw what I saw against the Colts. I saw Anthony Richardson go down, and he was even making some plays against that defense as well. And then I saw him go down, and then I saw Joe Flacco come in, and he wasn't Super Bowl Joe Flacco, but he still made some decent plays. And Dak Prescott is way better than Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco came in and scored TDs.
Yep.
And the Cowboys got a way better overall team than the Colts. So I don't see why we can't win that game. It may be tough,
I
it may
agree.
be ugly, but at the end of the day, I think the Cowboys pull it off and they stop all this nonsense at the Cowboys. And it's not our year. It's our year. at least while we're winning. All right. Anything else that you got, man? You want to wrap up? We talked about the Eagles losing to the Buccaneers. Shout out to the Buccaneers. The
Shout out
Commanders
the Eagles. I appreciate the Eagles in that. They played great. I mean, just turn the ball over. I mean, they listen. They went okay. They went out and paid Saquon Barkley all that money, and they just refused to hand that man the football. He the best player on their team, and they just refused to turn around and hand him the ball. At least in New York, they was working him. They gave him that ball. They worked him like a dog in New York. Right. But in Philadelphia, Nick Sirianni, it's all right. They got Jalen Hurts. We'll get close enough and push each other across the line of scrimmage. I just don't understand it. And I got several Eagle fans as good buddies of mine. And it's the first thing they gripe about is why don't we hand the ball to that monster in the backfield 30 times in the game? Because he's gashing teams, but they just get away from it. Even they had their top 2 wide receivers hurt, and they still won't hand the ball to that man. I love Nick Sirianni. I hope he gets a contract extension for the next 25 years he's in Philadelphia because he is amazing. And Kellen Moore has not changed one bit. He is still Kellen Moore. I love those 2 guys. They my favorites.
Exactly. So Nick Sirianni, Kellen Moore, and Jalen Hurts, please find a way to continue to keep those guys together.
Yes.
Match made in heaven.
Yes, those are the best. Those 3 guys never need to be separated till they retire.
That is an ultimate trio right there. I love it. I love those 3 guys. Because Kellen Moore definitely is not going to hand the ball off.
I thought Chip Kelly was the best thing that ever happened to Philadelphia, but we just didn't know Nick Sirianni was coming at that point. That is the greatest head coach. He will yell and scream at fans, but refuse to help his team win. Well, I love that guy to death. He's my favorite.
Yeah, so please, Philadelphia, find a way to continue to give all those guys a contract extension, please. I'm begging as a Cowboy fan, please. Okay. But the Commanders, they doing their thing, man, with Dan Quinn. Scary team right now. Hopefully they stumble a little bit. But, hey, I mean, honestly, the Commanders was kind of talented well before Dan Quinn kind of got there. So, offensively, that they was. I mean, I know they had a fire sale and got rid of their defensive players. But, hey, offense is doing their thing, man. I mean, that's what I want Dak Prescott to do, carry the team. Because Jaden Daniels is definitely carrying the Commanders. Defense is average. It's good, but Jaden Daniels is doing the thing. He's putting up points. He ain't out there kicking field goals.
Yeah,
he's putting up points. He put up 42.
They was going nuts.
42,
and they got all the confidence in the world. Yeah. So their offense is playing with confidence. Then the mediocre defense comes out there and they are playing with confidence. They getting after the core. It's just crazy how that kind of meshes together as a group. They're just playing well. You knew Dan Quinn was going to get them playing well. Hopefully, as a rookie, Jaden Daniel has some of those slip ups versus the Cowboys. Yeah. But we'll see. Listen, it's the number 1 team in the NFC East, the Washington Commanders.
All right. So hopefully the Cowboys do their thing on Sunday, man. Sunday Night Football. Guys, make sure you tune in to the Silver and Blue Huddle. It is streamed on any of your favorite podcast platforms. I've been doing a good job. I've actually been uploading it, so you can catch it on Apple. You can catch it on Spotify. Drop a comment on the YouTube. If you have a question, we'll definitely answer it here on the podcast live. But Cowboys over the Steelers. I got it. Esper got it. I'm pretty sure it's so amazing to have it as well. But we'll catch you guys next week, man. Silver and Blue Huddle. Peace out.